Okay, listen, I'm only just going to briefly touch on the stuff that happened in Capitol Hill because it's important in framing what the hell Andrew Cuomo's been up to lately, because I've been kind of sitting on this story because everything's just kind of kicked off in the past few days and it's been bonkers. But now we're going to have a little time to circle back around and make sure everybody knows what is happening in kind of the epicenter of all of Democrats' ideas. Kind of happen, gestate, and get worked out in New York itself when it comes to draconian Second Amendment issues, overtaxing the population, and then just generally doing a shit job and blaming everybody else. But leave it up to Andrew Cuomo that he's going to send in 1,000 national troops until 1,000 National Guard troops, you know what I meant, to Washington until after the inauguration on the 20th, because he's such a good guy. And Ralph Northam has done the same thing from Virginia. I guess he finally got all the blackface off of his skin long enough in order to, present a public front in order to make that declaration. Ralph Northam is a total piece of shit. But yeah, this is a very brief article and it's not very important anyways to help out with the peaceful transition of presidential power. Trump has already said that he's just going to fucking leave, walk away. Hell, he won't even be attending the transition. He'll be moved out by then. He'll probably be gone by the end of the week. So yeah, like it says here, 1,000 National Guard troops are going to be there and whatever. Who gives a shit what he actually says? Because this dude is fucking bonkers, okay? And I covered this a little while ago, but the UK variant that's out there, that's what they're calling it, the COVID virus, one of the many causes for all of this lockdown horseshit. But yeah, we still don't have any evidence to suggest that this variant is any more dangerous or really any more transmissible, but it's hit American shores. The US has their first variation and Cuomo shook. Okay, Nassau County, man. So it's out on Long Island. Can't they just, shut off all the fucking bridges and tunnels into the city and he won't have to deal with any of this stuff? And look at how Newsday reports this. This is great. A Nassau County man has the COVID-19 variant associated with the United Kingdom that is potentially a more contagious strain of the coronavirus. This was updated on January 9th, today, okay? And they're still saying potentially more dangerous. Well, potentially more dangerous to cross the street when the fucking light's not going your way, okay? But yeah, this dude's probably gonna go ahead and fucking survive this because the Massapequa man is 64 years old and unrelated to the Saratoga Springs man, also in his 60s, who was reported first to have the case of the new variant in New York, according to Cuomo. Whoop-de-doo, then you should probably lock down your entire state even further than you already have. Oh, wait, that's literally impossible because I'm pretty sure you can only go outside for, I don't know, maybe to walk your dog for an hour or attend a peaceful protest as long as you don't have a red cap on. That's the mark of the beast now. But okay, how's Andrew Cuomo actually handling this situation? Well, very poorly with what he wants to do next. I hate to use the Daily Wire as a source, okay? I'm normally pretty good with which types of sources I like to use, but this is Ben Shapiro's outlet, if you're not familiar with that, and I've taken a steaming hot dump on what I think about Ben Shapiro. I think he's the worst part of the Republican movement, and he actually, in the grand scope of things, has very little to do with swaying of public opinion. So, with all of that said, he's not really in control with what factually goes up on the website. He's just kind of the big figurehead when it comes to whatever articles. They've got a different editor in charge, but it's all tinted with that. But they have the goods here, and they have little bits of this bill that's coming out. You might have already read ahead and skipped some of my preamble instead of staring at my beautiful face. A New York bill says governor could order the removal of people with contagious disease. What does that mean? They're setting up COVID concentration camps. If this bill passes, it's not done yet, but if it passes, which is likely because fear is a powerful motivator, such person or group or persons shall be detained in a medical facility or other appropriate facility or premises designated by the governor. So he gets to decide which type of people get sent to camp. And I've reported on this, and you guys probably have heard this too. Cuomo's not exactly adverse to locking down certain areas of New York and New York City that are populated by a certain group of people who have a history of being locked down and marginalized. I think they're called Jews. Yeah, it's weird, right? Like, how you can be so openly anti-Semitic No joke there. I just think that he's an anti-Semite. A bill introduced by a member of the New York State Assembly would amend the public health law permitting the governor of the state to order the removal and or detention of a person deemed to be a suspected case, contact, or carrier of a contagious disease. See how they're wording that so they can use it more into the future, that it won't be specific to COVID-19. Would pose an imminent and significant threat to public health. The person in question then would be detained in a medical facility or other appropriate facilities on premise designed by the governor. New York State Assembly Bill A416, introduced by Democrat, you don't say, Noah Nicholas. Don't you think he'd probably know a little bit better? Oh, Noah Nicholas Perry, oy vey. Has been read once and referred to the Committee on Health. It states, this is just a section from the bill, the people of the state of New York, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows: removal and detention of cases, contacts, and carriers who are or may be a danger to public health. Other orders. The provision of the section shall be utilized in the event that the governor declares a state of emergency due to an epidemic or any communicable disease, upon determining a clear and convincing evidence that the health of others or may be endangered by a case, not telling you how dangerous the disease has to be, so they're just leaving that door wide open, and convincing evidence that the health or others may be endangered by a case. I hate how they're not defining that. Contact or carrier or suspected case, contact or carrier of a contagious disease that, in the opinion of the governor, so it's all being led up to a subjective position by one man. Oh, great. That's never turned out horribly for entire swaths of humanity. After consultation with the commissioner, may pose an imminent and significant threat to the public health, resulting in severe morbidity or high mortality, which COVID-19 doesn't necessarily fit, but they're also not defining what the parameters would be. The governor or his or her delegee, including but not limited to the commissioner or the heads of the local health departments, oh okay, like those can't be corrupted either, may order the removal and or detention of such a person or a group of such persons, oh my god, by issuing a single order identifying such persons either by name or by religious affiliation, by a reasonably specific description of the individuals or group being detained. So they can go ahead and cordon off entire swaths of people if they meet a specific description. Holy fuck, a church congregation? Certain delegation of, even something as innocuous as a fast food restaurant. Holy fuck, I hope this bill doesn't pass, because this is a dangerous precedent. Like I said, New York is just kind of the petri dish where the Democrats get all of their bad ideas. They just get worked out there. Such person or group of persons shall be detained in a medical facility. Oh my god. Oh, wasn't that what Dachau was presented as? Or other appropriate facility or premises designated by the governor or his or her delegee. Oh my god. The bill also states, notwithstanding the foregoing provisions, in no event shall person be detained for more than 6... Oh, good. They only have to be there for 2 months without a court order authorizing such detention. Oh, but it can get worse. The governor or his delegee shall seek further court review of such detention within 90 days following an initial court order authorizing detention, and therefore within 90 days of each subsequent court review. So you can basically get locked up indefinitely if you get it just put to the right court. Cody Anderson, chair of the Libertarian Party of New York, denounced the bill, stating, I don't know, I have eyes, I read it, holy fuck, this is horrifying. Oh, he's probably a little bit more congenial than I would be. Let's put aside the moment the egregious policy violation is issuing an order announcing that an individual can be a health risk. This bill offers a clear and direct path to unconstitutional and indefinite detainment. Yeah, definitely does. On the governor's sole authority, no U.S. state was ever meant to be a single person acting as judge and jury without checks or balances. If this bill is allowed to pass, that is exactly what New York will have. Yeah, exactly. And not even saying that it's specifically for COVID-19. If it's so transmissible and it's such a dangerous health crisis, why aren't the streets filled with bodies? I don't understand it, okay? If this was anywhere as bad as the fucking Black Death, we should be taking a look at alternate ways of handling the situation, but locking down is clearly not working. I think every jurisdiction's on their third lockdown, if they've tried lockdowns to begin with. There's a lot of good states out there that haven't. South Dakota. Once again, we'll just finish this off. Once again, demand that legislative leaders be principled when they claim my body, my choice. Oh, they don't care because this will mostly affect, I don't know, the people they've been prosecuting a bunch over the past half week. They must not pick and choose. They don't care. You think that they're going to hold to the same kind of standards that you do? No. Democrats have shown there are still good Democrats out there, okay? I'm just speaking to the, 95%? Or it depends on which precincts you go to, the 103, 108%. I think that joke's vague enough to get through the censors. They've shown that they don't give a fuck about standards, okay? They'll just kick off and kick out whoever they don't fucking agree with. And if you think that this hasn't been tried before, you haven't gone through history. There's a United States Supreme Court case from not but 68 years ago. It'll turn 68 on the 19th of February, but this is one of those hallmarks that makes FDR just an unimaginable piece of shit, okay? A lot of Democrats think that he was such a great president, but anybody who has a little grasp of history knows that he was just a power-hungry sack of shit and did quite a bit to undermine the recovery effort and delayed the very prosperous 1950s and kind of killed off the 40s based on a lot of what he did. But this is probably one of his biggest black eyes that kind of just gets swept under the rug by a lot of people. So here's the background of Korematsu versus the United States. About 10 weeks after the United States entered World War II, President FDR on February 19th, 1942 signed Executive Order 9066. The order authorized, it's weird how all of these terrible things, you're like, Order 66. I think that's a Star Wars reference. I don't know. I like girls. The Secretary of War and Armed Forces to remove people of Japanese ancestry from what they designated as military areas and surrounding communities in the United States, rounding up people who meet a specific description. Where have we heard that before? These areas were legally off limits to Japanese aliens and Japanese American citizens. You've probably heard this reference too, because that's basically all high school has kind of devolved into, is just slavery in World War II, so at least history classes. Over on the math side, they're teaching you the different ways that you can make 2 + 2 = 4, 5, 6, 8, 25. The order set in motion the mass deportation and relocation of more than 120,000 Japanese people to sites the government called detention camps or medical facilities. That were set up and occupied for about 14 weeks. Most of the people who were relocated lived on the West Coast, and 2/3 of American citizens. Oh, they were American citizens. They still were when they left, but they were there for a while. In accordance with the order, the military transported them to some 26 sites in 7 western states, including remote locations in Washington, Idaho, Utah, and Arizona. Just a little bit more on the background here. Fred Korematsu, 23, the named plaintiff in this case, was the Japanese-American citizen who did not comply with the order to leave his home and job just because he has a little bit of a cough and a fever, despite the fact that his parents had abandoned their home and their flowery nursery business in preparation to reporting to a camp. Korematsu planned to stay behind. He had plastic surgery on his eyes to alter his appearance, changed his name to Clyde Serra, and claimed that he was of Spanish and Hawaiian descent. Fucking Christ, that's what people are going to have to do now. Okay, I don't want to make the direct comparisons, but instead of going through plastic surgery, you're going to get people to fucking cough in a cup to figure out if you have the fucking antibodies there. You have to walk around with one of your friends who had the coof with a fucking Q-tip swab of their cheek. Yeah, so on May 30th, 1942, about 6 months after the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor, the FBI arrested Korematsu for failure to report to a relocation center. After his arrest, while waiting in jail, he decided to allow the ACLU, back when they actually did something, to represent him and make his case a test case to challenge the constitutionality of the government's order. He was, after all, an American citizen. Was tried in federal court in San Francisco, convicted of violating military orders. So San Francisco has been the home of terrible judgments over the years, and it's not just a recent thing, because even though the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals has been overturned and kind of reformed and reshaped in the image of President Trump, but there's a lot of Federalist Society guys, but It's not quite the liberal hellhole of shitty judgments that it once was. Yeah, he was in violation of 9066, given 5 years probation and sent to an assembly center in San Bruno, California. Just a nicer name, so I guess that's kind of like a, instead of the detention camps that were like a 1-star, this was probably like a 3-star resort, sure. Korematsu's attorneys appealed the trial court's decision in the United States Court of Appeals, which agreed with the trial court that he had violated military orders. Yep, everything seems good here. He's Japanese, therefore he needs to go to a detention camp. Korematsu asked the Supreme Court of the United States to hear the case on December 18th, 1944. They did. And what did the Supreme Court do? A divided Supreme Court ruled in a 6-3 decision that the detention was a military necessity not based on race. Supreme Court has sucked a dick for a long time, and everybody kind of bought into the theory that they would come in and magically make a good decision when it came to this election. But anybody else who knew all the landmark history cases out there, and this is one of them, they've been making terrible decisions forever, and yeah, they're not primed to ever stop. So hopefully the 9 people that are up there on the bench right now, I'm excluding Thomas and Alito because they've at least tried, and Justice Thomas is a fucking good dude. Hopefully they get comfy because and make a couple of extra chambers, because those courts, they're getting motherfucking packed, and you can expect a bunch more terrible decisions like this to be coming down in the future. Probably some that'll be coming out of those camps in New York. Oh boy, once they start in New York, you bet like Pete Rose on a ball game that these are going to spread throughout the entire country and nobody's going to stop them. Seen here, I know nobody's still alive on the bench except for Breyer. He was brought in just after this, but nobody's alive that was on that bench. But hey, their shitty decisions live on. I'll link to the rest of this because I got some dissenting opinions and then some also reaffirming positions on there that led them to this. But yeah, this is definitely one of the stains on the Supreme Court, and it's definitely one of the stains on a Democratic president setting up camps for a certain swath of the population. Just to let you know that the future may not it might be bright depending on if your cell has a fucking skylight. Anyways, guys, I thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.